I know you don't cover Twitter specifically, but it's kind of hard to have any discussion about this without directly addressing the showdown between, it seems, Dorsey and the president. How much of this is truly profound for your coverage, if much?
Well, look, it is always something that's interesting to watch. You're right. I don't have coverage of Twitter. That would be my colleague that you know well, Heath Terry. But in regards to Facebook and Google, and I think you mentioned some of the commentary they had yesterday. I mean, the real thing comes down to, do we want who should be the person that's the arbiter of what gets said on the internet? Should it be the government? Should it be these companies? Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg's been very clear about what approach he would like to see taken. But it's going to come down to, when does this become a priority, or does it become a priority for Congress to potentially act here and decide whether or not they should get treated as publishers? And then there'd obviously be, repercussions from that. But it's also a question of then, does it really impact how people are spending their ad dollars? That's what we care about mostly.
Right. So let's take two of those things. The policy response from either the courts or Congress. What's your playbook or your expectation on that front? And then what do advertisers think? To what degree does this become a stigma to have your ads placed against some of this content that gets more controversial?
So, those are two great questions. We have a political strategist at Goldman Sachs, so we rely on Alex Phillips to give us that input on what the potential policy ramifications are. In regards to how advertisers feel about this, every conversation we've had, and I've heard, David talking to Jim just before about omni-channel and being able to basically purchase, interact with your customers anywhere. That's what the advertisers seem more focused on right now than anything on the policy side. And in fact, we see what's going on as really accelerating the shift from traditional media into digital. That's been going on, but we see this acceleration happening even faster for some of the reasons you all just talked about earlier.
Heather, it's David. What are your expectations as to how this is going to evolve? I think a lot of people think it could end up in the courts. Obviously, the executive order, somewhat unclear in terms of the path here. What are you telling clients when they ask you what to think about, what to expect?
So we typically would rely, since that's not my area of expertise on the policy side, rely on outside experts or our internal political experts on this area. And look, this has always been a fear. Even some of the experts we talked to 12, 18 months ago, there was less concern on their part that these companies would ultimately get broken up. But the big unknown was whether or not they could get regulated as publishers and be held liable. So I do think, it's not something that clients are asking about in increasing amount this week, even in light of the executive order that you just mentioned. But I do think it is something that we're going to have to pay a lot of attention to. And I think it's one of the things that's been impacting the multiples of these stocks. Whether it's, DOJ or FTC concerns, or now it's going to be how this plays out. So I do think it's a great question. Yeah. It impacts the multiples, but hard to say.